Welcome to Bleav in Pistons, the Detroit Pistons podcast on the Bleav Network. I am your host, Brandon Dent, aka Detroit Kool-Aid. And listen, y'all, it is a cold January 18 here in Detroit, but the Pistons, I think that they're bringing the fire over the seas, man, over the ponds. And listen, I brought on a guest today to help us break down this game between the Pistons and the Bulls. I had none other than CJ Watson of Bleav in Bulls, co-hosted by Nick Schultz. Drop by the pod, man. How you doing today?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to this game. Not for the reasons that you might be looking forward to the game. You know, my squad, we hurting this year, man. We
Right,
hurting.
yeah. It's all right, man. It's every franchise goes through these ups and downs, but hopefully the Bulls can pull out a win, and everyone can just be injury free.
Yep. That's the most important thing, man. To have fun. I saw, Andre Drummond, Isaiah Stewart. These guys were together.
Right.
Obviously, former Pistons big man, current Bull.
Yeah.
With the current Pistons big man who kind of came in right after Andre Drummond. So it was really cool to see these guys kind of getting along. I know Andre Drummond, he's really been out there in Paris,
Right.
the city of love with the
Yeah.
overtures towards Detroit. So at least from this perspective, man, I agree with what you're saying, and it's been a cool thing to see.
Yeah, that's what you want when you take trips abroad. You want to just get out and see the city, venture, go to places you probably would never go before. Especially as us coming from black neighborhoods and coming from places we probably never envisioned even going overseas and going to places like this. So we gotta soak it in and just live it up.
Yeah, man, that's such a great perspective, and sometimes I don't know if people really grasp, how life-changing these
Right.
opportunities are,
Yeah.
how life-changing they are. It's an awesome thing. Like when the news came out that Jalen Duren, Pistons big man rookie, lost his
Right.
passport or whatever, I
Right.
was sitting like, no, bro,
Yeah.
like you need this experience, even if you don't play, because he's been missing some games. But
Right.
I was happy. I saw the reports earlier from the Athletics, James Edwards, another Pistons beat writer,
Yeah.
who was there, and he was able to kind of tweet out, "Yo, he's out there. Jalen Duren's here with his teammates," and you could tell in his face, man.
Yeah.
He looked like, "Oops."
Right. Yeah. That's one of the worst things. I always like one thing I never lost or always running kept in my pocket was my passport. 'Cause I know if I lost that, I couldn't go back home or I couldn't leave or had to stay. So that's definitely one thing you want to do. And like I said, you don't want to miss a trip like this. It's definitely life changing and it's something you can tell your kids about, tell your friends about, and even hopefully going one day again, they'll go back to Paris and just on a family trip or something and just explore.
See, and this is why I wanted to have you on the show, not just to break down Pistons Bulls, but to be able to bring kind of that aspect of that mindset of what's going through the minds of the players, especially
Yeah.
for the Pistons, because we have so many young players.
Yeah.
6 draft picks over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Just in the first round alone. Just in the
Yeah.
first round alone. We're not even talking about the second round picks that Troy Weaver has brought in here. And sometimes we don't know necessarily the ups and downs that players may be going through and what development growth is supposed to look like despite
Yeah.
the losses. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, no problem. And it's definitely going to change these guys' life. Like I said, it's definitely a young team, and you never know what trip or what part of the season will hopefully turn the season around for them. And this could be one of those trips. Like the guys are going to bond together. They're going to talk a lot. They're going to long plane rides and have a time to just mingle and get to know guys things that they didn't know before. So it's going to be good for these guys.
Dope, man. Yeah, and I look forward to it. I know we're gonna get down to breaking this game down, but I did want to make sure I at least honor you. NBA player, 10-year NBA player. That is not something easy to do. I've had the privilege of playing college ball, playing pro-am, playing with college NBA hoopers, college hoopers, overseas hoopers, but to make it as far as you've made it and to play as long as you've played, I like to be able to acknowledge that whenever I get the opportunity to talk to people who've made it. So definitely 10 years. I know you played Tennessee before that. I got a lot of family that's down there for 4 years. Yeah, no, look, man, Alabama, Tennessee, got a lot of family down there.
Definitely rivals.
Yeah. But I know this. Look, you had some good years, but I remember you obviously from your time in the Eastern Conference, Central Division with the Bulls and with the Pacers, man. And what I wanted to ask you as a guard, as a point guard, we have a guy who we believe is a star of the show, at least for this Paris game, Killian Hayes, French guy. Obviously, he's from here, from Lakeland, Florida, which has some Detroit ties to it as well, but grew up in Paris, learned the game there as well.
Right.
He's had some ups and downs.
Yeah.
with Killian's game, what have you seen with his game? And are you encouraged through his ups and downs? I just wanted to get your take on it from more of an NBA mind.
I'm definitely encouraged. Like I said, a lot of young players coming in with a lot of pressure on their shoulders. They're definitely going to come through with a lot of ups and downs. I think he's handling it well. I think you've seen some bright spots, games where he's done well, and games where obviously he's hasn't done very well, and he's just still trying to learn the game. And I think that's the biggest part, especially as a point guard. I think it's the hardest position on the floor. You got to be a coach on the floor. You got to get your own shots. You got to get everybody else their shots, and if you don't,
Mm.
they'll be mad at you. So it's a lot of things, a lot of things you got to handle. Being
Bro, that sounds personal, man.
no, it is what it is. Like you gotta be able to, set the table is what I call it. Get everyone else their shots, but also, get your own also. So I think that
Yeah.
like I said, it's the hardest job to do as a point guard. But I think he's handling it well, and I think he's definitely going to be a bright spot with him and Jaden Ivey and Cunningham. You guys got three good guards that for the future.
Yeah, yeah, yep. You know what? That's something that we talk about often is what will this three guard rotation really, really, really look like when
Right.
those guys get healthy, when they get back. And that's something
Right.
that I'm really looking forward to,
Yeah.
especially with the growth that Killian Hayes has shown since the beginning of this season,
Yeah.
as well as the growth that I Bleav in consistency that Jaden Ivey has shown. He's had maybe a couple games here and there where it's like, whoa, is he about to go on a slump?
Right.
But he's found a way to kind of pull that back around. I've been waiting for shoot numbers to fall off, and he continues to stay
Right.
pretty decent shooting the three ball. And now he's working on getting into that mid range as well.
Yeah.
From that perspective, how difficult is it for a guard? Because you had blazing speed, man. You did. You
Yeah.
did. When the ball hit your hands, it was boom. But
Right.
you found ways to kind of play under control and everything. I was looking at the 40-point game as
Yeah.
well. And even how you got that 40th point, it was attacking that middle, but you
Yeah.
also had a way to be able to get into that mid range and kind of work too. What's going on in the mind of Jaden Ivey as he's saying he's working on trying to add this mid range? He's blazing speed to the rim
Right.
and he can shoot the three.
Yeah.
But what do you think is going on there?
I think my advice for him, I think, would just be play at different speeds. Obviously, he's blazing fast, like you said, but people can dictate you if you're always just going one speed. So if you're being able to change your speeds up, go to slow to fast, it'll really help him out a lot, and then you can really dictate on how people guard you. And I think with today's NBA, I think everyone wants to be a 3-point shooter. Everyone wants to be a Steph or a Clay, which isn't
Yeah.
going to happen. You got to play to your strengths, and like I think his 3-point ball is going to come, and eventually you just got to start with the mid range, get to the basket, attacking the basket like he's been doing, get your floater
Mhm.
game, get into the paint, and then find your players, find your shooters, and then, like I said, just set the table. Then he'll start to get his own. He'll start to have that mid range shot, and then that 3-point shot will come also when they go under a screen.
Man, I love it. And it's not just you saying, yo, I think he's gonna get it. It's like the basketball talk, the acumen, look, when
Yeah,
shooters go under this, when the defenders go under the screen, he's gonna
yeah,
this, that, and
yeah,
the other. Those are the aspects of it. And it's also to be able to get your answers from a basketball mind. And it's a little off topic. It's just when you said it, I was just like, ooh, I want to just ask him this real quick about
right,
Killian and about Jayden.
yeah.
But I got some Detroit questions I gotta ask you.
All
I
right,
gotta ask you some Detroit. Listen, I'm serious. There's so many, I think, myths and
yeah,
some truths out there, but I
right,
just gotta hear it from an NBA guy,
yeah,
right?
right.
So, have you been to actual Detroit?
I have not been to actual Detroit. So crazy thing is,
Oh, we gotta
obviously, when we played Detroit, we always, I think it was like we stayed in like Buckingham or something like that or whatever.
probably Birmingham.
Birmingham, yeah, we stayed there.
Yep.
So, and it was always cold when we played Detroit. So I never left the hotel. I just ordered room service. So, like I said, I've never ventured out in Detroit. I wish I should have. Like I said, every time we played them, it was in the wintertime. So I just
Yeah.
stayed in my room. I didn't like the winter.
Well, look, we got to change that because that means
Right.
you guys
Yeah.
were what playing at Palace of Auburn Hills, which is to me
Yeah.
one of the greatest arenas in NBA history.
Yeah.
It has some great historical context to it as well.
Right.
It was kind of revolutionary when it was built and instituted, and it
Yeah.
was outside of the city, like 40
Right.
minutes outside the city. So
Yeah.
I know a
Yeah.
lot of players they would come in and you would hear them talk like, I don't know about Detroit.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, that was the talk of the town. Like I said, Detroit was, I guess, not a destination people wanted to go to. Even when they were winning, I never really heard people like, "Yeah, I want to go to Detroit." But
Yeah.
like I said, it's definitely a city that I want to get out to. I know it's a lot of history there, and I definitely want to get there and see it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing, like, especially now, Detroit has really been kind of undergoing an undertaking to grow,
Yeah, yeah.
to try and cover some of the cracks, and it's not perfect. We're not
Right,
gonna ever sit here and state that because the downtown is looking good, that the city's
right,
problems are gone away.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
still a long ways to go with the residents in the cities, especially on the outskirts of Detroit.
Right.
But as it relates to their city center, as it relates to some of their residents, as it relates to some of these districts and squares, they're really starting to make some strides. And that's the thing
Right.
that I love. All the teams now are playing on the historic Woodward Avenue,
Yeah.
and pulling up to these games is way different feel than pulling up to the Palace. Going to the Palace of Auburn Hills, which,
Right.
shout out to them and the sellout streak, the championships that were won there and everything. But going out there, man, it was way different. It was like you were just stuck in a parking lot. But
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to LTA, it's an event, man. Just driving down Woodward, it feel, the theaters are
Right.
out there and everything. It's the downtown nightlife.
Right.
Bro, we're gonna have to get you up here. We're gonna have to do
Yeah.
another one of these pods and try and
No,
do it
for
in
sure.
person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, that's what you want. You want the city to come out and support, and they want to feel like they're part of the team and like they embrace the team. And I think that's what when cities and teams do well. I think that's the biggest thing. They have the city behind them and the backing, and not just everyone in the city, but also really like the inner city, the underprivileged areas. Like those are the areas that need it the most and need that support.
Yeah. Yep, definitely, definitely. And I like it too. I've noticed just kind of doing some stuff around the arena on game days and such, being on the concourse and interacting with fans,
Right.
asking them this Pistons trivia. What I've noticed is that the arena, and I had to go back and check the stats. It seems like it's pretty packed most nights for a
Yeah. Yeah.
team that is not doing too well. Now you got to understand. You remember
Yeah.
how the Pistons were during your time in the Central.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
wasn't too good, and
Right.
the arena was empty.
Right. It was very, very empty. You can hear you can hear a pin drop in there. I think we had more fans cheering for us from the Bulls and Pacers than the actual home team, which was crazy.
It was it was
And my,
wild, man. That's when you knew it was time for a change. And
yeah, yeah,
with this squad, fans always say, "Yo, give us what the process is, man. We'll support it. We don't care if they have to tear down to the studs. We'll
right,
support it if they're going to actually rebuild this thing the right way."
right,
And what
yeah,
I've
yeah,
seen with this Troy Weaver rebuild is, the Pistons sit at 11th in attendance right now,
yeah,
which has been pretty cool.
right,
Covering the game this year, covering the team this year, it's been a really, really cool thing to see because you see what people are putting out there on social media,
right,
and they're going to be the vocal ones every time there's a
yeah,
loss. But
yeah,
to
yeah,
be
for
in the
sure,
arena, people are like, "Yo, you know what? We're here to support these young guys. We like their journey. We like the way the team is coming together. We know that the
right,
wins aren't necessarily there. And by the way, Victor Wembanyama is not a
right,
bad consolation prize,
right,
right?"
exactly, yeah, yeah. And like I said, Troy Rivers really come in and put his fingerprint on this franchise on this team. Like I said, they're drafting high caliber guys, good quality guys, and like I said, my favorite thing about Detroit, honestly, is the PA announcer. He gets me every time. The way he introduces the fan
Let's
or
go, Mason.
the players, home and away, like it's crazy. But he really gets the energy set for that crowd and for the game that night.
That's awesome, man. You know what? I gotta ask you. Other than the PA announcer, do you have any memories of Detroit or playing against the Pistons, either home or away?
Uh, no, not really, honestly.
Just Mason. I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's
No,
legendary. Hey, Mason, you're a
yeah,
legend, man. You hear
yeah,
this?
yeah. That's all. The PA announcer is what does it for me, and I love the team colors, blue, red, and white. I mean, that's red is
Hey,
my favorite color, so I love those colors.
yeah, man. See, oh my goodness, you were one of those players. I was like, yo, get this man in a Pistons jersey, just
Right,
one
yeah,
time, just one
right,
time. Like, look, we went through some point guard troubles, yo. I was
right,
like,
yeah,
please. And then he's
yeah,
over here just wreaking havoc on my favorite squad for a few years. It was just like, come on, man.
right,
but but look, I guess we got to get more into this game. But I said a name here, Victor Wembanyama. Before we get into the NBA Paris game, we want to talk about their biggest, probably their biggest prospect of all time,
yeah,
coming out
yeah,
of France, maybe
yeah, yeah.
international prospects. What do you think about him, man? What to make about
Uh,
Victor Wembanyama?
I mean, he can do it all. He's 7, whatever, 3, 4, whatever you want to call it. But he can dribble, he can shoot, play defense. Obviously, he has to get stronger. But like I said, he's
Yeah.
definitely a superstar in this league. You can just see the way players now are just glorifying him. LeBron and people like that. You would probably never seen that back in the day. If a high school or a guy from overseas was coming to the NBA, people would brag and boast about him and say how good he is. Like I think this guy is just going to be the next one. And it's going to be a joy just to see him watch and see him grow.
Yeah. 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 I keep dreaming about if the Pistons were actually lucky enough. Like, I don't think the NBA is going to reward us again. Like, hey, Kenny Ham, they're like, listen, that's enough. And we
Right,
can
yeah,
make
yeah.
it, Jaden Ivey kind of
Right.
I
So are
don't
you
think we're
saying
getting
the so
Vic.
you saying the lottery is rigged? That's what you're saying?
I'm not
I
saying it,
mean,
but Tayshaun might be saying it.
I'm sure Tayshaun will want to be in Memphis somewhere.
What up, Tay? Shout out Tayshaun. Shoot, man. Yeah, that would be scary to me. I don't even know where he plays. Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
position do they play him at? I see like some places just have him listed as center. Some people have him listed as guard, and some have him
yeah.
listed as a wing.
Just put him on the floor, man. He can do, like I said, he
Oh,
can
I
do
like
everything.
that,
He can do what your point guard can do. He can do what your five man can do. Like I said, just put him on the floor and let him figure it out.
bro. That's a quote. What to do with Victor? Where should he play? The floor.
Right,
Just
exactly. The floor.
anywhere. Anywhere. If he get the rebound, he's the center, and now he's the point guard and
Right.
one. Like, just
Let him
go.
push it. Let him go.
Yep, yep. I like that, man. And because we obviously we sit around and talk about the hypotheticals over here in Pistons La La Land, and we talk
Yeah,
about,
yeah.
if we did get him, where does he fit, on this squad? Because
Right,
obviously Cade Cunningham, Killian Hayes, Jaden Ivey are guards.
right.
We also got Jalen Duren, big Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, among some other people. Like
Mhm.
on this squad, I'm like, man, I don't even know where they would slot him. Maybe five,
Like I said,
maybe.
I throw him anywhere. Just figure it out. Everybody, you play around him. This is our future. Y'all better get in and fit in and play around him. If you can't shoot, you better figure it out. You better do something because he's gonna be the one.
I like that. I like that, man. Is there I like Scoot, and I know I've been paying attention a lot to the Thompson twins as well. Is there anybody
Yeah.
else, just real quick from a draft perspective, that you think should get a little bit more recognition?
I haven't seen a lot of players, honestly. I could seen Scoot play a couple times,
Yeah,
obviously against Victor, but like I said, I don't really watch a lot of college basketball. Mostly, if I watch basketball, it's like a Tennessee game that's on TV or something just to support my old school.
loyalist.
But
I like that.
like I said, I'm excited to see the draft. I heard a lot of great guys are in it. It's going to be a great draft again.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. But with this NBA Paris game, like we said, it's a little bit different ends of the spectrum
Yeah.
for these two teams. For the Pistons, I'll give this perspective, and I'll let you tell it from the Bulls as
Hmm.
well. For the Pistons, obviously, it's about a different set of storylines. They started the season stating that they were ready to finally compete every single night, and
Right.
then a trail of injuries happened that derailed a lot, from Marvin
Right.
Bagley to Cade Cunningham and so forth. So now the storylines become things like Killian Hayes, who went from historically bad
Right.
to putting up over the last 10, 15 games, like 14 points, 8 rebounds, or 8 assists, 3 rebounds, 40% from three. Jaden Ivey over the last 15, averaging a solid 15, 4 and 4, 40% from three, finding ways to, at least from an individual standpoint, when we're not looking at necessarily wins and losses, show
Hmm.
that there's growth and development. And in this game in particular, you want to still continue to see that growth and that development, but I want to see Killian Hayes in this kind of confidence, ladder he's been climbing.
Right.
I want to see him finally cement this thing and just stand comfortably at the top of it, like with Mario.
Right.
Like at the end of Mario, you have to hit like the top of
Right.
the little pole. I want to
Yeah.
finally
Yeah.
see him hit that thing and get the flag all the way to the top,
Right. Yeah.
because you see the flashes.
Right.
And it gets a little frustrating when it's not a skill set thing with Killian Hayes. So
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
me, that's my storyline. Killian Hayes, go out there. You're the son of France in this game, man. For at
Right.
least this year, because
Yeah.
Vic is about to take that crown,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
okay. Hopefully
Right.
he'll be a Piston. But that's at least my perspective of the game. Go out there and try to play tough defensively. The Pistons have gotten pushed around a lot this year. And being injured doesn't help. They're big men
Right.
being injured. So I want to see them go out there. What I want to see them do is go out there and battle. Don't let the
Yeah. Yeah.
Bulls push you around.
Right. Yeah, I think from the Bulls' perspective, it's about winning, trying to win and get back close to 500 as they can. Establishing Booch early, and hopefully he'll have another big game like he had last game. Hopefully Demar will be back from his quad injury, and just those three guys, Zach, Booch, and Demar, just really trying to play at a high level and getting a win in Paris. And like you said, just hopefully the bench can come to play. Drummond can come in and give some good minutes with Dragic and Kobe White. So like I said, the Bulls are trying to be consistent and get in a win streak and keep that win streak, not just one game, but 2, 3, 4, and 5. Like I said, try to get out this play-in spot and try to get to that 7th or 6th seed in the East.
That's dope. That's dope, man. And do you think they're gonna get there?
I don't know. From the way they've been going the first half of the season, I don't think so. But like I said, anything can happen. They have one of the easiest schedules of the second half of the season, so it's going to be interesting to see how consistent they can be, and like I said, put a win streak together throughout the rest of the season.
You got the players. I Bleav you
Yeah,
have the talent, but the East got better over the summer. It
yeah,
just
yeah,
got
for
better. I
sure.
remember we were doing our preview. We were looking at all the teams that kind of took a step forward, including like the
Yeah,
Knicks and
yeah,
including the teams at the bottom. They added more talent. So even
yeah.
though they may still be at the bottom, they may be able to come up and nip your heel a couple times in the season.
Right.
And the Pistons have done that to a couple winning teams this year.
Yep. Yep.
As has Orlando. A couple of
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
teams they've really gone out and scrapped and battled hard.
Yeah.
Um, Andre Drummond, just before I ask you, I got a couple more questions I wanted to run by you. But with Andre Drummond, man, he's a guy who many fans said when he got paid, they expected more out of him. And they
Hmm.
thought that if he was paid less, that his flaws would be
Right.
a little bit more acceptable.
Right. Yeah.
Now he's found himself kind of in this backup role that Piston fans have said that would probably fit him the best.
Hmm.
Just from your perspective, Andre Drummond today,
Yeah.
I know whatever the knocks were in terms of his motor. What do you see
Yeah.
from Andre Drummond today?
I guess some of the same things that you used to see. Definitely a rebounding machine. Still can go out there and rebound, play defense. Offensively doesn't give you much, but he still can give you a double double every night, and that's really all you need out of him at this point of his career. Like I said, I think he has more in the tank, and definitely, I think someone just has to push that motor out of him. I think he needs to get with a coach who's gonna really just bring it out of him and demand that 100% Andre Drummond every night, 82 games plus playoffs, whatever it may be. But just demanding that aggressiveness, that consistency every night.
Yeah, yep. And that was the thing too that I know a lot of fans here they mentioned as part of the things or reasons why they thought maybe he doesn't need the big contract that he got in Detroit.
Right. Yeah.
For me personally, I saw a side of him where I believed maybe he just didn't have the right foundation.
Yeah.
I know that at least for me, growing up, I had like a lot of different people around me, hoopers, weight trainers, and
Mhm.
all this stuff, and they were always able to kind of tell me what to do, put me in the right position to the point that I didn't even feel like I had choices
Right.
sometimes.
For
But when I
real.
looked at yeah, I mean, how was it for you?
That was
You
the
know what
same
I'm saying?
way. I had one trainer that I had my whole life, and he would always call me after every game and tell me what I did wrong, what I did right. And even with my parents, they would do the same thing. Like it wasn't a lot of things I did right. There was a lot of things I did wrong. But I think that's what you need to hear. You don't need a lot of the yes men. You need people who are going to hold you accountable each and every night. And I think that's what the best players have.
Yep, yep, and I just didn't know if he got that. Even when Drummond went to college,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
college coach that recruited him was out for the year,
Right.
with an illness or something, and so
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember that year, he's shown that he has versatility in his game that probably should have been matured.
Yeah.
But they just threw him in the paint and said, "Just go."
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
oversight or anything, and it just seemed as if his game just was able to kinda whatever. When he came into the Pistons, it
Yeah.
was under Lawrence Frank, who we know he wasn't there for too long.
Right.
And it just seemed to be the Andre Drummond show from his own perspective without
Right.
necessarily doing like you said, if you had the trainer, then you know what structure can do for you.
Right. For sure. Yeah.
And that part of it just didn't seem like it was there for him. So I wanted to just kind of get that perspective, if he's looking like he's shaking some of this stuff now, because I know he's given some interviews where he's talked about, hey, I've learned my lesson, or at least see where things went wrong,
Right.
and I'm looking to right those wrongs. So
Yeah. I think that's just called maturity, and getting older, getting wiser, looking back at the mistakes that you and choices that you made, and just like I said, just could have did better and put more effort into it. I think that's what you see now. He's playing better, definitely in the backup role. But I think he still can be a starting center in this league, especially with the small ball air and stuff like that. Obviously, he shoots threes here and there, so he's definitely branching out and trying to expand his game and stay in the NBA as long as he can.
look, bro, you just said shooting threes, and every Detroit Pistons fan was like, "Oh,
Right?
I'm
Yeah.
dead serious, man." Like, it was a struggle there, and I know that he was trying to stay ahead of an era.
Right.
And it's funny because he kind of got caught up in the era of big men changing offensively,
Yeah.
whereas
Yeah.
the NBA today feels like it's positionless offense, and now it's
Mhm.
going to positionless defense, where you
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
guys who could play who can defend the 1 through the 5.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so for Drummond, he always showed the propensity though to be able to switch out and to defend wings and guards and things of that nature. I'm hoping as his career goes on that he is focused on really kind of hunkering down and being more about his strengths,
Yeah.
the rebounding and being a menace in the paint and doing
Yeah.
something that I thought he never really excelled at, but has all the tools at being an absolute rim protector.
Yeah, yeah, that's the best thing. Like I said, being a rim protector at the five position is definitely needed when you have all these small guards and when guys are switching everything 1 through 5. So that can be his biggest, like I said, strength is being a rim protector. And like I said, anything you get from that on the offensive end is a plus.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. See, now when he was here, it was almost as if he had to have been given the ball because
Right,
teams didn't have players like the Bulls have.
right,
You
yeah,
know, and it was a struggle. So it's like now that he's on a squad where 10 rebounds versus like he might get 18 rebounds with the Pistons, it might
right,
not have the impact that his 8 to 10 rebounds will have with the Bulls.
right, yeah,
You
for
know,
sure. And
and so I'm hoping he's
and
learning.
yeah, and it's in the small, short window, especially when you're playing behind a guy like Vooch. You're not going to play a lot of minutes, so just got to go in there and be productive and get quality minutes when you're in there.
Yep, yep, and I kinda wanna bring this to a close, but I wanted to close on this, because I know that you're a young guard. You were a not a young guard, but you were 4 years in college.
Mhm.
He came into the league at a time where, there were a lot of guards, and I guess that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
So coming in as a young player in a league where I thought that your era was stupendously guard heavy, and then a new crop of guards were coming in as well, like Steph and all them.
yeah,
It was just different. And I'm
yeah,
looking at guys like Killian, I'm looking at guys like Cade, I'm looking at guys like Jade and Ivy, who Detroit Piston fans and this organization are going to hang a lot of hopes on. What is it like for these guys really, really, really trying to find their way as young players and not just young players, but guards? Like we had a Chauncey Billups, shout out Chauncey Billups. Always got to have the jersey nearby.
right.
Always
But
have
but
to.
but 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 Billups.
Yeah, there we go. Shout out Mason, man. It's like we know it took him some time to really get his feet underneath him as well.
Yeah,
About 4, 5, 6 years. What's going on in these young guys' minds? If you can harken back to your time when you hit the league, what was
yeah.
it like?
It was. I mean, I wouldn't say it was easy, but it was kind of difficult. But like I said, it's just always about believing in yourself and having a confidence in yourself. You really can't really worry about anyone else or what they're doing. You got to just be focused on you and your team and trying to be productive and getting better each and every day. Because like at the end of the day, there's going to be a new crop of guards every year, no matter what the case may be. Because there's a draft coming in, they're going to sign new guards. They're going to have new people that they like that could fit their program or franchise and they might want to bring them in. Like I said, just focus on yourself and I
Mhm.
think in your strengths and try to get better at those weaknesses. And that's really at the end of the day all you can worry about.
Yeah, yeah, that's real talk there, man. That's real talk, and because it's interesting what you said. They're going to continue to bring in new guards and new
Yeah,
people because that's what Troy did. He drafted Killian Hayes, right? And we
yeah,
were excited, man. Seventh pick.
right,
We wanted Lamelo. We saw other players that we were kind of infatuated with as well, but Killian was one that we were like, yo, he could really be our point guard of the future.
right,
But then the very next year, we get the first draft pick, and we're like, all right, Cade Cunningham. Well, maybe
right.
he'll play the two. Nope, he's playing the
Yeah,
one now.
right, yeah,
And Killian's moved over to the off ball. Then the
right,
very next year, Jaden Ivey. And it's like
yeah,
he could play the one too if we need him to. And it's just like, wow, they're just like, look, talent,
yeah.
talent, talent. So everybody else, make sure you're doing what you have to be doing to stay the course.
Right, yeah. And at the end of the day, if none of these guys really pan out, or if they all do pan out, and it comes like contract negotiation time, and maybe you're trying to get a big superstar or a big player in the offseason, and you can maybe trade one of these guys for him and use those as guys as not to necessarily say as bait, but just a trading piece. But that could be a good thing for your team. Like you can get another already all star, a season all star to come to Detroit and have to give up one of those guys, and maybe not all three or both or two of them. I think that's a good exchange.
Yeah, yep, that is, and the more that these guys continue to develop, it's interesting because we've never seen, at least me, I haven't seen a Detroit GM kind of do things this way. I've been
Right. Yeah.
envious of seeing other teams do things like this, but
Yeah.
usually our GMs have been like, okay, we drafted our one person, and
Right.
it's at a position of need, and it's like, but we
Right.
left that totally way more talented player on the board. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Like
it was
Darko.
just weird.
Like, why did you draft
Oh,
Melo?
oh.
No matter who you already had.
Oh my gosh. Woo. Darko, man. Every Darko reference, every Pistons fan, man. It's goodness gracious. And it's crazy, man, to hear Chauncey talk about that. Like the other day, he was talking about
Right.
we promised Carmelo. It's
Right.
like,
Yeah. That would have
gee,
been a squad. Have Melo on that team.
bro. My goodness, I feel like they would have won the next year. I
Yeah,
think that
yeah,
they would have beat San Antonio that next year
yeah,
if
for
they would
sure.
have
Yeah.
drafted Melo. But with these young players and the development, we'd be remiss if we didn't also talk about coaching.
Mhm.
And in Detroit, Coach Casey is a hot topic, man. Hot
Right.
topic. And
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to get the perspective because I've of you, I've kind of banted about this, going back and forth, and I feel like Coach Casey's a really, really good coach at developing young players, but he's never been in a situation to where he's had to effectively develop a whole team, like coach a whole
Right.
team full of young players,
Yeah.
which I think for anyone, it's going to be a little bit of a struggle in the win column. He was brought here to win now, but is there anything that you know about Dwane Casey as just a person, as a coach, as a player development coach, or anything you've heard from people?
Mhm. I've heard nothing but good things about him. Like I said, I think when I was in the league, he was at Toronto, I think. So I don't know if these teams are doing that good during that time either, but they were still competitive and had a lot of young talent on there. I think DeMar was on that team, Antoine White, maybe guy from Italy, Andrew Bargnani. I forgot his name,
Yeah.
but they had a lot of talent, a lot of young talent. But as far as I know from things that I've heard about him, he's been a great coach, great in the locker room, always pushes guys and challenges guys, and also lets you play. So at the end of the day, that's what you want in a coach. You want to let you play and go out there and play to your strengths, and not really just yank you every time you make a mistake or turn the ball over or something.
I like that. And you said the two things that I like. He pushes you, but he challenges you.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
right,
it's the way it should be. And the reason why I think that those are two things to highlight. They're a little bit different because sometimes you can just be pushing people just to push people. And I believe that there were
right,
coaches here in the past who tried to push the players, but they didn't really challenge them to anything. They didn't really, you know what I mean, show them the way to anything. And they didn't say, okay, now meet this mark. They just said
right,
go. And what if that's not their way? You
right.
know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
if you
for
want them
sure.
to go there, then challenge them to be better at something or to do something. And it's that's the truth. Sitting in these press conferences and listening to him talk, you hear him, especially during the off season, you hear him speak even more about the things that he's trying to get the team to do and where they're trying to
Right,
go and things of that nature. And he talks about the fact that this is a season where if they were like in contention for the playoffs or anything, yeah, there's some players who would have effectively a lot shorter rope to be able to play with. You know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah,
It wouldn't be as, these guys just out there playing. But to your point, that's what you said when it's about developing these young guys. He's
yeah,
not just out there giving like the quick yank. I know some people are a little perturbed with some of his lineups,
right.
but
Yeah.
I think at some point in time, especially with all the injuries, you got to have balance.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And definitely, you got a young developing team, and you want these guys to grow. And they can't grow if they can't learn through mistakes. And that's what every young player probably complains about. Coach takes me out when I make a mistake or whatever. In the NBA, you got to learn through those mistakes. You got to learn through experience and getting those valuable minutes in crunch time in big, meaningful games, even as a losing team, and just to see how you're going to handle it. So just to be put in that position as a young guy, then hopefully, down the road they'll definitely learn from these mistakes and learn from them and grow from it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the hope. And I know like for a lot of fans, at least here in Pistons land, their time is just their thinking is just when is this gonna happen?
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah,
when you zoom out, you look at the Troy Weaver era, you can tell, well, year three of Troy Weaver, really year two of his rebuild. Um, but for the Pistons fans, it's been losing for a very long time.
yeah, yeah.
And so they're wondering when is this going to happen. I believe that the Pistons are about 2 years out from
Mhm.
really, really, really being a team to contend for the playoffs. Whether that's and by contend for the playoffs, I mean like that sixth seed. Obviously, seventh and eighth,
Right.
ninth and 10th is the playing now. But being able to be one of those top six teams, I think that they're at least a couple years out. Just from your perspective, what would you say?
I think so too. I agree. Like definitely a couple years. Like I think they got great pieces. Like I said, sign some pieces in the offseason. You never know what this team could be. And like I said, with the development of these young guys, as long as they continue to grow, like I said, that 2 or 3 year span of window could be next year. You never know because these guys are definitely growing, and you definitely got a future superstar in Cade Cunningham and the way
I can
Bay
hear that.
plays. I love the way Bay plays. He's a definite scorer in the bucket in this league and plays both ways. Plays defense too, tough and gritty. So I think they got good pieces around him.
I like that. I like that, man. You actually said some things that I was probably thinking to ask you, and I just forgot. And so yeah, it's been so much. It's been so much
Yeah,
content over the last couple of days, but
right.
it's awesome to kind of hear your perspective on these players because it's not just someone who covers these teams. It's not just somebody who's kind of in the NBA world. It's somebody who was an NBA player, somebody who understands the grind,
Right.
somebody who kind of played the similar styles and positions to some of the guys that we have on our squad. And you
Right.
understand, Central Division basketball. You understand like this Midwest basketball. Yeah, like
Right.
it's gritty, it's tough.
Right.
Look, even if the shot is off, it don't matter. I'll go 0 for 10 on the night.
Yeah.
I'm still getting in the paint and battling
Yeah.
and this and that. Like
Yeah.
it's just a little bit different, and so it's cool to hear you talk about that. And I've man, after the rookie season, I was like, yo, is Cade Cunningham a star? I continue to
Yeah.
bring up this question because post All-Star break, my man was averaging 24, 7, and 7.
Right. Yeah.
I as a rookie
Right.
coming into this season, his season averages finished off at about 26 and 6. I
Mhm.
remember I asked the question before the year, can he get 25 and 5? People were like, nah, that's
Right.
too early. And he had a stretch where he was up to almost 28 points a game, 8 rebounds, 7 assists a game. Like
Yeah.
I can't say enough good things about him. I don't know if it's just because we've been waiting for so long. It's been a while.
Right.
Let me think, because look, it's been a while. A while. Well, we got Grant Hill here, guys.
Yeah,
It's
is
been
that
a
black and white?
yeah. It's black and white. It's been so long, guys.
Right.
But I feel like we finally have one. I'd be trying to refrain from even
Yeah.
using the superstar label, but hearing it from somebody else is like, yo, he's on this path.
Yeah. I
That's
like
that's
him.
that's a good thing.
Yeah, I like his game. He kind of reminds me like Brandon Roy, kind of, but like a new era of Brandon Roy. Like I said, he's definitely on his way. I think he's going to be that centerpiece that Detroit needs, and they can build around if they don't get Victor or whatever. But he's definitely one to be in that superstar, talk.
That's what's up, man. That is what's up. And a Brandon Roy reference, a Brandon Roy name drop. That's when you know that somebody's clued in. You're not just
Hey
hooping.
man,
You know hoops. Like it's up
yeah,
here. It's basketball culture, man.
I'm a encyclopedia, but I don't watch basketball as much as I used to.
I like that though. But you know the game though, man. I can tell just in the conversation. Obviously, you know the game.
Right.
You went out there and you did work in the game for a long time. Like I said, everybody definitely the highlights are dope. You know,
Yeah.
um, I I don't like watching too many of the highlights. Like I said, terrorizing my Pistons for some time out here in the Central Division. But is there anything else, man, that you would want to talk about, bring up, or leave with the people?
Uh, just I'm a children's author, so I've written 3 children's books so far. You can check them out on cjpens.com,
Dope.
cjpens.com. Have a foundation for kids called the Quiet Storm Foundation. We help inner city youth and underprivileged kids just to be better and strive for different things and just be successful in this world. And that's about it. I'm just trying to be the best I can be each and every day and help people.
I like that, man. I like that a lot. And you know what? We're gonna have to figure out some way to get you to Detroit.
Mhm.
Get your organizations and your
Yeah,
charities some type of traction out this way as well.
for sure.
I
That'd be
appreciate
great.
you coming out here, and because I'm serious, we got to get you to try some Detroit style pizza. We got to
Oh
get you to
yeah.
try Detroit Coney. We got to get all that
What
stuff.
is
And
what?
Verner's, man.
Yeah,
Verner's
yeah.
Better Made. I'm trying to think of all the Detroit stuff. We got to make sure we get
Right,
you.
yeah. Yeah, I gotta come to Detroit, man. Gotta see the city. Gotta show me the good
Yeah.
and the bad.
No, I got you, man. I got you. I got you. We're gonna set this up for real. Maybe we
Alright.
can do that stream from the concourse at LCA.
Hey, man,
We'll
that'd be
definitely do
dope.
something like that. We'll
Yeah,
set
yeah,
that
for
one up.
sure. Alright, for sure.
Well, hey, look, this was fun. This was fun. This was fun. For Bleav in Pistons, man, the Detroit Pistons podcast on the Bleav Network. My name is Brandon Dent. You also might know me as Detroit Kool-Aid, and definitely shout out to Jay Washington, hosted by Nick Schultz on the Bleav Network. Definitely check out their podcast. Definitely check out all the organizations. And is there anywhere else people can find you, CJ?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter, quietstorm_32. I got a Facebook too, but I don't really know it, but uh,
I respect that.
I'm
That's
on
why
social media here and there.
I respect it, man. Hey, but definitely thank you for taking the time out to come and check out this Paris game and really go through all the different rundowns and give us your spin on Detroit and kind of Auburn Hills. But we'll let that slide.
Right.
We're gonna get you right, man.
No, I
Definitely.
appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Till next time, y'all.